welcome to my channel. This is Jessie. Well, today I'm gonna talk about a really special method for us to mitigate the tax in certain circumstances. So for example, if you are a business proprietor or partner of a business, or you are a property holder, and you have subjects to profit tax or property tax in Hong Kong, or you are both property holder and proprietor for business, or you are also get employed by a company, thus you are subject to three types of tax, including the salary tax, the profit tax, and also property tax. In this way, usually, when you file in your tax return, and you are subject to all kinds of tax in Hong Kong, and definitely you have to pay a lot of tax. And if there is any way for you to mitigate your tax to some extent, definitely you can choose the personal assessment. That is not a certain type of a tax. Personal assessment is a method for you to file your tax return. This is preferable for those who are subject to several types of taxes. For example, let's say that if you are a property holder and as you rent this property out to earn the rental income every single year, and that is your major income. And the things like if you earn the rental income, you are subject to property tax definitely. And normally, if we calculate the property tax, we can only deduct the government rate and a statutory deduction that is normally 20% of your rental income minus the rates. This means that, for example, in average in Hong Kong, you have a 2-bedroom apartment, and your rental income per month will be like 25,000 Hong Kong dollars, and in 1 year you could earn like 300,000 Hong Kong dollars as your rental income. And in a general property tax calculation, you are subject to approximately 34,000 Hong Kong dollars as your property tax. However, if we choose the personal assessment to file in our tax return, after calculating properly, you only have to pay like approximately 3,000 Hong Kong dollars as the property tax instead. So why this can help us to mitigate our tax? That is because we choose the personal assessment. And in this video, I'm going to give you a further introduction about the personal assessment. Also, you are so interested in something like the property tax and the salary tax, you can just refer to my previous videos here. I have some detailed explanation about both the property tax and the salary tax. Who are qualified to apply the personal assessment? Firstly, the person should be above 16 years old, and they should be an individual, not a corporate, definitely. Secondly, they should be ordinary resident or temporary resident. What is the definition for ordinary resident? This means that if they remain in Hong Kong legally, voluntarily for the settled purpose such as education, employment, or residence. This means that you are not necessarily need to hold a permanent Hong Kong ID card if you want us to apply for the personal assessment. Also, you can apply for this personal assessment if you have any of the three taxes, including the salary tax, property tax, and the profit tax. This means that if you only get the property tax or you only get a profit tax, you can still apply for the personal assessment. Well, secondly, I'm gonna give a brief introduction about how to calculate the personal assessment. Well, firstly, we have to fill in a positive amount of the property tax, which subjects to every single property, the profit tax, and also salary tax. It is worth mentioning that all of those taxes should be a positive amount. For example, the one we fill in for the property tax should be the net assessable value minus the government rates and minus the statutory deduction, which is 20%. And for the salary tax, the amount that we fill in the salary tax should be the net assessable income minus the allowable deduction. This means that up to now we don't consider about the concession deduction or the personal allowance. And for the profit tax, we just fill in assessable profit. And the second part of this personal assessment computation is to fill in all kinds of deduction. Normally there are 4 types of deduction. First is to deduct the concessionary deduction, as what we normally see in the salary tax. The second deduction is the business loss, which can carry forward. The third type of deduction is the personal allowance. After deducting the 4 types of deductions, we could be able to get the exact amount that subject is to tax. So you can see that the personal assessment is really straightforward. And next part, we're gonna talk about what is the benefits of choosing the personal assessment. First, the benefits is that we are allowed to use the concession deduction. The concession deduction is a normal deduction component in the salary tax. The concession deduction normally includes approved charitable donation, the elderly residential care expenses, home loan interest, contribution to recognized retirement scheme, the qualifying annuity premium or VHRS premium, so-called voluntary contributions to the MPF, etc. If you are holding property and rent it out and you gain the rental income every month, and for this rental income, normally you are not allowed to deduct those concession deduction items. But right now, since you use the personal assessment method, that you are allowed to deduct all those concession deduction from your rental income so as to calculate the property tax. And that is the first benefit. The same also applies to the second benefit, that is you can also use the personal allowance as well. So normally personal allowance includes your basic allowance, that is like 132,000 Hong Kong dollars per person, and also includes your children dependent allowance, your parents, grandparents dependent allowance, and also your brother, sister dependent allowance. For example, for children dependent allowance is normally 120,000 Hong Kong dollars per kid per year, and for dependent parent or grandparents allowance, it ranges from 25,000 Hong Kong dollars to like 100,000 Hong Kong dollars per dependent per year. And this is the specific personal allowance for your salary tax. However, right now, if you are holding a property, or if you are a business proprietor, or your partner in a business, or you gain a property tax, you are also allowed to use the personal allowance so as to mitigate your tax as well. And this is the second benefit. While the third benefit is the interest on mortgage loan. And why this is such amazing benefit? Because normally from this salary tax, when we calculate the salary tax, even though we can also deduct the home loan interest expense from the assessable income. However, the home loan interest should be a qualified lender, such as a bank or something from the government or some organization from the government, etc. But in the personal assessment, the interest on mortgage loan can be a person, can be your relatives. For example, you borrow money from your brother, from your siblings, from your parents, and they ask you to pay the interest on the loan they lent to you. So for this part, it is also deductible as well in the personal assessment. That is another benefit. And the fourth benefit is that the business loss can carry forward. For example, you are employed and also you run a small business, such as you just open up a restaurant, and because of COVID-19 or something like that, and you just incurred a loss. And also you have something like the salary as you are employed in a company. And this business loss incurred during this year because running of these restaurants could be able to carry forward and also be deducted from your total income, including your salary income. And this is the fourth benefit as well. Another example is like you hold a property and rent it out, you have the rental income. At the same time, you just open up a restaurant and incur some loss. And normally you have to pay the property tax, definitely. But you use the personal assessment as a way to file in the tax return. And you can use the business loss to deduct from your rental income so as to mitigate your tax. That is a really amazing thing, right? And the fifth benefit is that you can make good use of progressive rate. As we know that in Hong Kong, if we choose the progressive rate, there is initial 200,000 Hong Kong dollars that only had a lower interest rate ranging from 2% to 14%. Thus, if you are a property holder, we are a sole proprietor, or we are partner of a business, normally we are subject to the property tax that is normally 50%, or we are subject to the profit tax, which is 6.4% in Hong Kong. Right now, because we can choose the progressive rate, we can definitely enjoy the initial 200,000 lower tax rates in the progress rate choice, definitely, because we use the personal assessment. That is such a really effective way for us to reduce our tax to some extent. Who are preferable to apply for the personal assessment? Well, in what kind of circumstances is better for us to apply for the personal assessment, and in what kind of circumstances it is not good for us to apply for personal assessment? Well, normally, if you are a property holder and the property are also subject to the mortgage interest rate, normally it's better for you to apply for the personal assessment, definitely. Or if you are a sole proprietor or you are a partner of business and you just incur a large loss, meanwhile you also have another job or you have the rental income, for this kind of circumstance it's better for you to apply for personal assessment. In what kind of situation is it better not to choose the personal assessment? For example, you already have a job and you have an annual salary that is above the 200,000 Hong Kong dollars. That has been above the threshold of a progressive rate, right? So in this kind of circumstances, if you also have the rental income, probably it's better for you not to use the personal assessment, because yourself has already taken the benefits of the progressive rate, the concessionary deduction, and the personal allowance. If you use the personal allowance and your rental income will subject to the remaining interest rate is 17% of the progressive rate, which is 2% higher than the normal property tax rate, 15%. So definitely this is not a really good choice in this kind of, for you to choose the personal assessment in this kind of circumstance. Well, alright, this is the end of my video. If you like my video, please thumb up. If you want to get to know more about the tax in Hong Kong, just please follow me. If you have any questions or comments, you are really welcome to leave a message. Alright, bye!